mayor's emergency crime bill that was passed by City Council a few weeks ago. We all recognize the issues in the city and we need to take action, not just words. We appreciate those veterans that came and spoke on behalf of the bill and what they believe we should be doing. So I want to thank everybody for that who participated, and we got a good pathway now. It's not done, but we got a pathway forward. So I'll leave it at that, get right into it. I want to thank DC Center for Independent Living, Latina Pittsburgh, for coming. And I'm going to hand it over to Fallon Williams to kick it off.
Thank you so much, Elliot, for that. And let me know, I was trying to do it better so we can actually see the PowerPoint as well too. So excuse me on that as we try to move forward as well. All right. So, first of all, I just want to say thank y'all for taking the time out today to come by. I know it's hard traveling here and getting here with parking and all, and whether metro or things of that nature. So thank y'all for coming in person. And for those online, thank you for as well too. July is definitely an amazing month. I had the opportunity to go to the DDS fair, and there was a lot of resources there that everyone can take advantage of. I know as a veteran getting out of the service, it is very hard if you don't necessarily know how to maneuver in the system as well too. And at DC Mobile, we always try to make sure that at each round table we come, we bring resources that are needed by the community and also our veterans. So today we have DC Independent for Living. And the reason why we brought them here because a lot of times when you go into different jobs, and just areas, you don't know what resources are available to you or even the ADA laws. I know for myself, in different employment practices, I have requested different accommodations and the individuals themselves didn't necessarily know from an HR standpoint how to handle that. So please, as we come today, Ms. LaKenya Pitchford today, she's an advocate for all of us, especially our veteran community. Please listen, and if you can't take the information for yourself, you never know who you can pass it on today. So, pass it on to you.
It's a pleasure being here. I thank Fallon for inviting me. So my name is LaKenya Pitchford, and I am an independent living specialist at the DC Center for Independent Living. I wear a lot of hats, and one of the things that Fallon mentioned is the ADA. I am a certified ADA coordinator. That has been my passion to educate people with disabilities about their rights, their civil rights under the Americans with Disability Act. But before I get into that, I wanted to just give a brief presentation on who we are, because a lot of people in DC really don't know who we are. So I want to just give a brief presentation on who we are in DC, what our services are, and then I can just talk briefly about what I can do to help people with disabilities and under the ADA. I want to disclose I am a person with a disability. I have Stargardt disease, so I am visually impaired, so I can't read the screen. So I have my other sidekick here, my iPad to help me read. So LaKenya Pitchford is my name as I present this information, and I'm just going to go through it. I'm not going to read everything that's on the slide, but just so about our DC Center for Independent Living, what is this established in DC 42 years ago, 1981, under the legislative law. There is a Center for Independent Living in every state. in the United States, and a couple of states have multiple ones. But I come from California. California actually has 28. So the district has, the DC Center for Independent Living actually have 2 offices. One of the offices in Southeast in Anacostia, and our main office is on 12th Street Northeast. And so we are a nonprofit, consumer-driven organization. So we're in consumer control. So what that means is that the consumer controls their services. It's us listening to them to tell us what their needs are, what their wants are, in order for us to help them in their goals. And so we're here to just help them, support them, assist them. They're the one that's giving us what their plan is, and we call it the Independent Living Plan. And in order for us to help and to sometimes understand, because sometimes you might come across a person who has the same disability as you, and so it gives us an opportunity to get on that one-on-one base and help them in their independent living journey. So our mission is mainly to maximize the leadership, empowerment, some of them like, hey, I want to go and go back to school, or even employment, want to help do, hey, I need a resume, we can help that too. And so that's one of our services, is independent living skills, and also just home stuff. Hey, I haven't really cooked because I had somebody cook for me. Can you help me navigate? And depending on your disability, can you help me navigate the kitchen? Can you help me find some recipes? Stuff like that to help them live independently in their space. Next slide. So our next core service is peer counseling, and this is one of our most popular, most needed service, is peer counseling. And so none of our staff, we're not like psychiatrists or counselors, certified counselors. It's just that peer-to-peer support. And this is super important because a lot of times some people think that they're alone. How do I navigate my community? How do I do this? And so our peer-to-peer supports are super important for people who are really trying to get into their independence. It's that one-on-one, it's for us to share information. And so we have peer support one-on-one, and we do have peer support groups that I will get you in a later slide. So my next core service is advocacy legal services. So we provide, I love this. I'm an advocate at heart. And even though my title is independent living specialist, a lot of our specialists do some advocacy on an individual basis and sometimes systematic advocacy. And that's just really helping the disabled community to break down barriers for them to have the services that they need in the community, and also be accommodated. And so advocacy is such an important role in the Centers for Independent Living, because it allowed us to go out in the community. It allowed us to fight for people with disabilities. And so I'm here, and I have done a lot of advocacy in my day, not only local advocacy, individual advocacy, but also systematic advocacy.
With legal services, so is this more, you would basically give the legal opinion of their rights to the
Yes.
or would it be actually litigating on their behalf?
No litigation, here, for the ADA, we will help them understand their rights. That's when I come in. But also, if it needs to escalate and more, we recommend, or we do I&R. That's our other core services. It's information and referral. And so if it is really in depth and we can't handle it, it's beyond our scope, then we will refer them to the University Legal Services or Disability Rights DC.
Excuse me, you say core services, does that mean like to be a part of the core identified as core group, or as your core being the heart of
This
your?
is the heart of independent living.
So the core thing is a financial based city program, like your core.
I get
Does
what
that
you're
know what
saying.
I'm saying?
Yeah, but this is, it's not dealing with any finances. This is the core of independent living. When independent living was first established in California, in Berkeley, like 1970 something.
Yeah.
Back in the day, those, when we say core services, those are the services that were established when independent living first became independent living.
Like mission
It's
statement.
the services that they thought people with disabilities would need the most to live independently. And
So I guess I need to say, is it financially based, anything, whatever, or just the programs you refer to are financial based?
I'm not sure, understand what you're saying, finance.
Yeah, is it financial based? Are your services?
Oh, no, it's not.
Are you
all
are you
our
just a
services-
referral service to people?
Yeah, so one of our services is referral and information. So it can be kind of like us being a hub to get information out to them that's in the rest of the community. But all our services are free. So information, for example, someone might call our services, our office, and say, hey, I'm not sure, but I need a home health aid, right? We don't actually have that particular service, but we can say, hey, I can refer you to, here's some information on where to go, organizations that have a home health aid, or I know that your insurance, if you have like Medicaid or something like that, they have home health services, so that's the referral part. But all our rest of our services, the independent living skill training, the advocacy, the peer, all of our services free. So that's what I mean about core. It's the services that they deem independent living deem important for people to live with disabilities independently. And so the peer counseling that I mentioned before, that I said is like one of the main things that people kind of gravitate towards independent living, and also information and referral. Because you gotta understand, sometimes when people are trying to get on their own, they don't even know where to start. And so a lot of times people start at the independent living, and that's where information and referral comes in. So they call us with a specific need. When we don't supply that need, we refer or give information to an organization in the community that does. And I hope that answers that question. If you raise your hand and I don't see you with my peripheral, just yell out, because I won't be able to.
So as far as like eligibility though, I think that's kind of where the question was coming from.
Oh, yes.
That's what I was understanding it is. So even though that it's free, is there any kind of eligibility
As
requirement?
long as you identify as a person with a disability, so only people with disability of all ages are eligible for our services. We don't ask for you don't have to fill out no doctors, even though sometimes services in the community ask for like a doctor's form. We don't, it's your word. I have a disability. Well, what kind of disability do you have? We do ask that question, and we do have it in our database. And so if you say I have bipolar, that is a disability. We cover all disabilities, mental, physical, everything.
There's no income threshold.
No income threshold at all. You can be the richest person, have a visually impairment, and you just need help navigating, we help. Yes, ma'am.
My concern is New York and advocacy for family members that assist veterans with disabilities in homes.
Yes, so one of our support groups is veterans support group that one of our staff members run. And so every case is different when it comes to supporting family members. And so, and housing, per se. We, just to get clarity, a lot of times people see our name and they think we are housing, business as independent living. And we have housing resources. We are not affiliated with housing at all. We don't have, just because we are federally funded, we don't have an actual facility to house people with disabilities. We do not, but we do have housing resources. We do have a housing list. We do have housing that, a list that accepts Section 8, a housing list that have, hey, these are affordable housing, low income housing, accessibility. Now, if your housing issue requires like, hey, I'm not getting the accommodation that I need, I'm not in an accessible unit, that's when we come in, that's an advocacy. We can help mediate between like the manager, hey, our person needs an accessible unit, how can we try to, because sometimes they don't know how to do it, what to say, so having that support there with you. But we do help if you have family members that are veterans. Now remember, veterans are, they can be eligible for our service as long as that veteran have a disability. And so if they have some issues with family, all it is having an intake. All it is having a conversation with them. What is your need? If we can't help directly with our services, information and referral is very important. And so we refer and give information out in the community that will help you. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. We do have families, of course. Information withdrawal, I talked about that. That's one of the most important. We get a lot of calls just with information. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that transition. Transition is there's two types of transition. First, we have youth transition. So we do have a transition program for youth who have disabilities. We're really trying to establish the transition services for a person that's leaving an institution to transfer out into the community. And that's super important. I know just for experiences working in the Center for Independent Living in another state, it's super important because our goal is to about to get transferred into the community. They can be transferred within a parent's home, a family member's home, a friend's home, or they're getting their own place in the community. We can help with that transfer. So our goal is to help them in any way we can to help them transition between the institution into the community base. And so youth services is one of our transition services, and transitions from institution to the community. So here are some related services that we tend to help. Housing is one of them. That's one of our biggest, one of the biggest need in the district is housing. And like I always reiterate to people who are calling for housing, is that we are not affiliated with DC Housing Authority, no housing facility at all. But a lot of times people are trying to look for HUD subsidized affordable housing. We have a list of that, and we provide that list. We try to help support them in looking for something that they can afford. Other organizations that provide housing, we refer them to. Community education, we do travel training, we do if you will need to, hey, I need to learn how to use the metro, we help with that. Anything that's dealing with navigating the community, we help. Orientation and mobility training. Some of these services, other staff members do. So these are some potential services that we can we offer. Yes.
Can you just reiterate, they asked, how would you help a housing secure veteran in DC?
Okay, so the first thing we do is we always refer in-house to our veteran support group, because it's important that that we get them hooked up to the veteran support group as part of one of our services that we do. Because if you talk to other veterans that's disabled and are looking for housing, or even some that have even established housing, having that peer-to-peer getting information, that's one of the things that we do. Another thing that we do is to help them look for housing. So that list that I mentioned, the HUD list, the HUD subsidized list, low income affordable housing, that we will provide too. And anything else that we know in the community that will help, we also do that. That's the information that we refer. Yes.
So are you something getting on that housing list?
Yes, exactly. We do everything that's housing related. So if the DC Housing Authority's list is open, we're like, hey, we help people fill out applications. So anytime we just don't say, hey, do you need assistance? And they're like, yeah, I need assistance filling out the application. We help with that. Anything that is open, I would say too, because DC Housing Authority wait list is closed right now. We always try to, hey, this is another alternative. And a lot of properties have their own wait list that might be a little bit shorter time than DC because it's closed, DC Housing Authority. We can help them navigate through that, filling out applications, even housing applications. Yes, ma'am.
I was trying to find out if a veteran, had lived on their own and then they had a car accident, make them have a mental, disability. So when they try to transition back to independent living, right? And then when the court gets involved, what do you do? Because sometimes it's hard to determine if no medical examination was done prior to making this person, I should say, more state. Because I feel like if you know your family member is going through something that's abnormal, that doesn't mean they don't have mental capacity to make their own decisions. But it's a problem when you have doctors and organizations stepping in, making decisions for that person. That person has delegated you as a power of attorney, or so much as a guardian, which I feel need to be changed.
Yes, so I'm glad you mentioned that. When I say consumer control, that's exactly what it is. So Center for Independent Living is not in the business of, first off, diagnosing anyone. We're not saying this is what you're supposed to do. No, it's all of the person's own, like, I want to build my plan. It's their life. We're not there to tell you what to do. We're there to assist you in what you say your need is. So if you come and if your family member said, I have a mental illness and I have this background and whatever, I need help just navigating the courts, or I need help with this. We don't tell anybody like, this is what you need to do. We're there to assist and support, okay? If you have a guardianship, if you have a guardian, that's something that's totally different if the person is there and they're making decisions on their own, or if you decide, I would love a guardian. Now, a team is very important. So if you have conservatorship or guardianship over a loved one, you come on in with the plan. You're there with them. You know what I mean? You're there with them to say, hey, this is what they need. And we always, it's just like talking to, I'm gonna get to you. It's like talking to someone who is deaf, right? And you have an interpreter. You don't go and stand there having a conversation with the interpreter. You're looking at the person who is hard of hearing deaf. So if a person does have a conservatorship or does have a guardian, that they're both into this journey of independence. Sorry, so I heard you back there.
What I was gonna say is that, would you say you like a coaching thing that would assist that what we take to our primary care? With the veterans, it starts with the primary care. They always go back to primary care, and your other doctors. Like we can take whatever service, like the equine therapy, Fallon. We take that to our practitioners, and they'll put in for whatever. So they're talking about entering into the community. What about the other way, from having to leave the community to go into a facility type thing?
Right. So that's one of the opposite of what independent living centers are. If you just take some time, I don't know if anyone know about the independent living movement when it first got started. The whole purpose was to get people, because they were under the medical model. If you were familiar with back in the day, they wanted people with disability to be institutionalized from. But the independent living movement is for people getting out of institutions into the community. That's the whole focus and purpose and goal of independent living. Now, if someone needs to be in, we're not telling anyone, you need to be institutionalized. That is not what we do. It is all on, that's between you, your family members, and your primary care. Okay, we have nothing to do with telling you or coaching you and your family to tell you you need to be in an institution or a rehab. That's something that we don't dabble in. Our focus is, if someone's leaving an institution, is to help them integrate into the community.
So are you a source for where these evaluations might take place to determine where an adult is? Because if you're independent living and you're not certain.
I'm not sure if you're not, what you're asking for.
That's more so navigation of the system itself.
Yes. So when we do an intake, if you saying, hey, I just got out of an institution, a rehab or whatever, and I'm moving back into the community, blah 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 blah. Can you help me? This, for instance, can you help me get my house safe? So just for instance, someone is elderly or someone who's in a wheelchair and they need assistance in making sure their home is safe. So we can okay, I can refer you to out. Every independent living center, I've been telling you, is a little bit different in their services. So we don't have a grant to actually put grab bars, but we do know that the
VA will do it.
Yep. So those are the kind of things we help navigate. So they say, well, I need someone home health aid, okay, because your doctor said you need someone with you, so we can help you find a home health aid through your insurance or through other organizations in the community that provide home health aid. They say, well, I need some help kind of budgeting because it's been a minute. I have my Social Security. We can help do financial management, or we can help. Hey, you have any resources? I remember the first roundtable I had. They had giants here. Stuff like that. If I need to navigate, if you're blind or visually impaired, especially newly blind or visually impaired, I need to navigate my kitchen. I help someone actually help her label, kind of get a sense of her kitchen as a visually impaired person, not as a sighted person, but now as her kitchen hadn't changed, but her eyesight did. And so those are things that we help with when they transition.
And then I think to answer your question, Heather, is so Your issue seems like you need legal counsel for a lot of things you deal with.
Well, not so much now, because he's deceased, but
Okay.
I just question what I went through with him.
Okay.
And if he had legal paper for me to assist him.
Oh, got it.
You know, I was trying to get him, I got him into, after he was put out in the house, I found him a place to stay, to see where, independent facility up there. But I was blocked for getting him, you know, like the VA program, getting him a nurse to come in, and I was paying for people to come in and give me 24-hour care, because I couldn't do it in my house. So then, after he died, it just looked like, I'm just learning that there's a lot of people within the nursing home, you know, guys that will ride around, you know, saying, why am I here, you know, and nobody, they may not have a sister or brother to assist them. But just because you had a stroke doesn't mean you have dementia.
Yes.
Just because you had, I learned about my brother, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia when he was in the military. So you can live with that, that doesn't mean you have dementia. So what does that give somebody the right to take your people from you and misdiagnose you and put you in a facility and you sitting up there wondering, well, what is going on?
And that's where I think
You know.
you guys can help them point them to the right
Yes.
legal counsel to give them, so they understand, you know, the doctor's made a ruling, but there are ways to appeal it, but you're gonna need legal counsel.
Legal counsel,
So that
exactly.
they can connect you to the legal
Exactly.
counsel, so that you can have that proper, litigation, question.
And medical records are never questioned as far as evidence. They don't have to have the doctor actually in the courtroom to verify medical records. So if you go to your primary care or any of your practitioners and have them put it in your record, then it will be in the record and unmutable.
You see, in this case, you know, that the hold up your meat is a little strange to me because he already knew he had the problem. He prepared himself for the problem. And he gave me the documents to represent him. But I had other people that were stopping and interfering with, what he had been put in place. And that's not right. He was 68 years old, he did this when he was in his 30s and 40s. I didn't know he had my name down for this stuff. But soon as I got involved in it, it's like I got attacked, you know, and I shouldn't have to go to that. If your family member say, you know, get me a place, you can take my money and do what you choose as long as you don't in church alone, that's what you do.
So, at this point, if you're a caregiver, you're helping, you're having a problem with this, reach out to us.
Yes, our goal is like I said before, the Centers for Independent Living mission and goal when it first got established is to keep people with disabilities out the institution. So that's supporting them in every area to keep them in their homes. So that's what I'm saying, it's the opposite, you know, for the independent.
So when there's a question, when somebody questions, is this person safe on their own? Instead of saying calling adult protective services, are there evaluative services that say, like the VA, they've got the driving program that will do evaluation of a veteran's driving. Are there evaluations that say, well, with appropriate skills, this person can live independently, or whatever stance that would take once it's evaluated, that because a person with an unsuccessful life living a certain lifestyle gets questioned and says, hey, you know, and we need to have appropriate evaluations that say
Definitely.
yes or no.
We'll definitely answer your question other than, so opinion, the next question we had in the chat before we close out, do you partner with financial advisors to discuss financial management with our veterans?
We do, like I said, we don't do it, we do basic budgeting. I do basic budgeting, but anything beyond that, we can refer out to a financial manager. And I'm sorry, one of the slides didn't come up, Fallon. It was the other support groups.
Okay, so.
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, there you go. For some reason, we're on mine. So these are the other support groups that we have at our center. I do run the wellness support group. every second and fourth Thursday, except this Thursday I was here. So I do have a wellness group. And then if you're anyone who's interested in anything other, they can always call and ask to, hey, I want to be a part of the support group. And if you have any questions on employment and ADA, I'm your girl. You can always contact the Center for Independent Living. If you need specifically, I think the flyer that's went out, the brochure doesn't have my email. I would prefer if anyone who have any issues with employment, reasonable accommodations, anything like that, just see me and I can give you my email address.
We'll send it out there today.
Thank you so much for that. I'll go ahead and
Start over. Thank you so much. That is definitely a resource that definitely a resource that is needed, and Mark, we're going to make sure that you talk to everyone. So what we're going to do in the essence of time is go ahead and do audience introductions, because we're looking at probably 20 minutes as well. Those are a lot of our resources that we have in here in Washington, D.C., and we can go back to that as well. We asked the individuals in the chat room to drop their information as well, too. So I'll go ahead and start off here. Just give your name and where you bring us greetings from and any other information you would like to provide, and please keep it down to at least 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Thomas Gator, and I represent the Thomas Gator Foundation. We have a national and international organization that is based here in Washington, D.C. And the reason I came here today is because I received an email regarding veterans, and we were actually providing food for the homeless. And a couple of veterans were there, and I asked them about, where do you live? They said, well, we live in a tent, or we live in a car, or whatever. And I said, I wonder if visiting this organization today might be able to help me in, helping them find a place to stay. And so we also work with the legal clinic here in Washington, D.C. for the homeless as well. So this is information to me, and hopefully I can utilize this information and the independent living as well, so that people can understand that they do have resources, and the questions were raised.
Hi, I'm a member of the VFW Auxiliary 341, and I'm the hospital chairperson for my auxiliary.
Hello, I'm King Mark, and I'm just here for the information.
My name is Robin Walker Salas, and I'm trying to get this organization, Wounded Warriors Behind Bars, going. We work with the fringe demographic that doesn't fit into anywhere, specifically like compensated veterans who don't pay taxes that aren't really counted under the veterans in DC. So I do more resource referral, research development, helping veterans get their benefits and businesses getting their thing, because the VA doesn't really recognize what's going on with some of us, and even with flags and things, there's a real decay in the system, especially since COVID. So Robin Walker Salas, all formats, except LinkedIn, I got off that, but yeah. And I put the meetings on my YouTube page. If you want to look at past meetings, there's highlights from that and different things like that. So I want to say, Fallon, thank you for chiming in, and we must have been on the same wavelength with this independent living center. I think it's just a matter of getting the resources and things out to the people who really need it, whether, once they're aware of something, it changes everything.
And Robin, what was your information again?
Robin Walker Salas, and Wounded Warriors Behind Bars. It's not really anything because nobody wants to acknowledge, participate, whatever. So I work with Arm in Arm, Calvin. He is a good peer support person. I'm focused primarily incarcerated, post-incarcerated, homeless, and mental health veterans. But there's a lot of street warriors that fall under categories as well. Youngins. We gotta help the youngins.
Hello, Chris Fletcher, Army veteran, 10 years. I work for the American Legion. I'm also a member of Post 8 here in Washington, D.C., resident here at Park 5, and I'm also on the American Red Cross Board of Directors as well.
Hi, I'm Kiana Scott. I'm the academic counselor for the Veterans Upper Band program that's located at Catholic University of America. We assist veterans who are interested in going to school or finishing their degree. We also assist with resume writing, employment, and cover letter and other skills. We do financial literacy training and other workshops that veterans may be interested in. So reach out to me.
Do you provide any services to veteran spouses?
Not really their spouses,
Okay.
just mainly just veterans and show that they serve.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jason, Marine Corps veteran. I also help veterans get home, veteran villager. I feel like a rap woman, man.
I'm John. My name is John K. Harrison. I'm the veterans of the United States Navy. And retired Stevens here with DC County Authority of 30 years. And think that this is a very, very informative discussion we're having here. And I was concerned about some information I was sent for the veterans involving service-related injuries that a person may have acquired. And I was trying to see if I can locate some of that particular information for me and some of my relatives.
So we have veteran service officers in our office that
Yes, sir.
are specialized in doing claims. Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Hearns is just my husband, but I only came because my brother, he was a veteran, and he was in the Navy. My father was in the Navy. My older brother was in the Navy. My other brother was in the Army. And because I'm like the middle child, I had to bury like 3 of them. But this last experience I had with my own brother, it was just unbelievable that some of the things that you have to go through when you don't have a spouse or you don't have anyone to support you. And I just feel like, let me see what's really going on here, because in my experience, maybe I can help somebody else to avoid what he went through. And I just think that some of the legal stuff that's taking place, it definitely can be changed. Because if you're not going to allow a person to use the power of attorney, then you should tell a person before they die. You need to put down that you won't be for the guardian, but not anybody can file a probate court when they feel that you have dementia. And dementia, to me, as I see it, is overstated because everybody don't have dementia because we have a limit.
Thank you very much. One thing I forgot to mention, I wanted to mention something could be very neat for the city. Does everyone know what the Invictus Games are? Invictus Games is started by Prince Harry from England. It's basically Olympics for disabled veterans and disabled actors. They do it every 2 years. DC is one of the 2 finalist cities for 2027. So I'll be meeting with, I guess, Prince Harry, I would say. And his team as we try it. It's between DC and Birmingham, UK. So if we get it, it'd be very, I think it'd be very, very beneficial to the city. This is a real neat thing that he developed, and it highlights that our veterans, though they're disabled, they're still, world-class athletes, and still able to do everything that we just do.
Now let's go over to the individuals online, because sometimes we have issues with the feedback as well.
So we have Chelsea Allen with Thrive USA Home Care, providing free home care services through veterans through Care in the Community, Chelsea at thriveushomecare.com. And that's 240-552-5857. And what I can do, I can email this to everybody if you sign your list, and I'll make sure that you have it on electronic copy.
I was the one that brought Thrive into DC.
Yes, yep, Danny. Yeah, thank you so much. And then we have Jamal Ferguson from the Stephen A. Cohen Clinic. If you're looking for any type of therapy resources, they also do Toastmaster as well too, and comedy workshops and things of that nature in writing. Then we have Dwayne Ellis. He's with the Wealth Syndicate LLC at thewealthsyndicate.com. He does financial planning and investment services as well too. And then Blake Turpin, he's with DC Hunger Solutions. So if you have any issues signing up for anything in relation to SNAP benefits, you can directly call him and he will sign you up, see what you need. And a lot of times individuals don't realize with SNAP, you can also write off a lot of your costs. So even though you think you can't qualify or you don't, there's ways where you can fill it out and do things. And Blake will lead you through that process as well too. And he's with DC Hunger Solutions. And he can definitely connect you with different hunger solutions like Martha's Table. They're currently doing it where they're giving out free food. I know at the last Fridays of every month, they give out produce and they don't ask for anything. So there's tons of food resources in DC where there should be no issue for going hungry as well. Also, there's Judy Reed. She's with the American Red Cross. You can reach her at 443-202-4336. And then Hilaria Stanley, she's with Sparta Pride, and you can reach her at hilaria.stanley@spartapride.org. And then there's Brandon Craft, he's a DC resident as well too, via life member. Jill Carmichael, she's with the Veterans Project Manager for DC Interagency Council of the Homeless, and they are still looking for individuals with solutions and lived experiences as well too. Because what it is a lot of times we have an issue with housing insecurity and it's not being addressed. It's not being addressed by the individuals who are actually experiencing it. And they actually need to be in those rooms to provide those real solutions. So Jill, she came on board last month, I think, and she's with a grant through Community Connections. So please reach out if you have anyone who's currently experiencing housing insecurity. The CRC is our first stop. As we all know, Housing Counseling Services did get the grant for the Flex Fund, which will start next FY. And just next August, we'll be bringing in all the resources for housing. So on the next roundtable, we will have the CRC here, we'll have Friendship Place, we'll have Housing Counseling Services, and we will also have, what's the third one? The other SSVF providers, because we always get questions about housing in DC, where to go, where's the next steps and things of that nature. So we're bringing them to you. And they will be here to see what's the next steps. One of the major issues we have is the fact that Maryland and Virginia are right next to us. So individuals come in and we make sure they're taken care of as well too. So please join us in August. We would love to see your faces again. If you have any other questions, my name is Skylar Williams. I'll be staying afterwards. I'm always here to help you. Our one-pager lists the major services that we provide as well, and thank you for spending the time with us today, and thank you so much, LaKenny, for coming out. You have been a huge advocate for a while, and I appreciate you. As being a disabled veteran myself, a lot of times we don't see disabilities up front, so thank you for coming out and joining us.
No, but we American Legion people.
I'm sorry?
Do you know anybody in Bowie, American
And if
Legion?
anyone has any questions, you're
Oh, in
free to
Maryland?
go or stay around and chat too. We have to run until like
No,
1:15.
I don't think so.
Okay. My friend was commander of the American Legion for a while down there. And he's an example of one of those independent living things. And then once the license is gone, poof, you know. Let me see if I can catch these.
So, we have a program. Has it been handed over? So that's what, it has to be. Which means it goes CCU once a Okay, so it's CCU. So, our pathways, they'll meet on Monday, or Friday, Monday. And you call the office. So this is the program right here. Pathways, once you call this number and ask for the or just say call my pathways. And he'll talk to you more about how we use CCU, how we do get. It's coming along. It's really for people that driver's license. But it's more
develop a relationship with him, but there's paperwork that has to be done before. Have you been able to get over to it? I've seen you before. I remember you. Something with
What's going on, man?
Hey,
What's new?
Okay, well, I'm
Are you, how's, all the, fueled up? Is everything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just recovering, trying to get healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no more.
No more surgeries.
Right?
At least for right now, yeah.
Okay. Good.
Just trying to get stronger. Last one was in October, and so hopefully that's
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it came from the mental surgery that went wrong, and then they had.
again and again and again. And again.
I don't remember what part that is.
What's new is, like I said, that Red Cross
So are you working full time for Red Cross now?
No, I'm still full time.
At the Legion.
I have 2 blocks
Live anyway.
this side of the DuPont Circle.
Yeah, I don't know for machine, but anyway, yeah, probably for about another month.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go on.
This is my friend's
Yeah, I was
book.
just appointed to a board, the DC board for Red Cross.
Service
So
denied.
what's that do? What's that board like do?
And it's a compilation
So we're
of
focused on
essays
DC.
about starting from
And
Civil
initially
War.
it's
That's really when the
disaster
whole
responses.
veteran
So working like an ACMA
thing
office?
started.
Yeah, and this office
it's
would like
just
to start to engage as
deteriorated
well
since,
for veterans, volunteering.
Do you
whatever we
take
can
Metro?
do.
Are you around and stuff like that?
Like so DC.
That's